The Addiction Podcast, Point of No Return.
Hey, thank you so much for joining us today on the Addiction Podcast, and welcome. We've got a guest today who can give you some great solutions to using over-the-counter drugs and other pharmaceuticals. So stay tuned. But first, a word from our sponsor, Newman Interventions.
Hi, my name is Amy Newman, and my husband Bobby and I have a business called Newman Intervention Services. We provide intervention services for families who have loved ones struggling with drug addiction. Our goal is to help individuals get the support and treatment they need to overcome addiction and start on the path to recovery. With our personalized and compassionate approach, we guide families through the challenging process of getting their loved one into rehab and onto a road of a healthier future. Together, we can make a positive difference in the lives of those affected by drugs. If you or someone you know is in need of an intervention, don't hesitate to reach out to us. Let's work together and bring hope and healing to those battling addiction.
Call 866-989-4499 today and say the word podcast to get a 10% discount. Or go to newmaninterventions.com and type in the word podcast for a 10% discount. This service comes with a free 1-hour consultation with Bobby. Dr. Beltran, thank you for joining us today. I think you're going to have some very interesting insight to share with our listeners.
Well, I just want to thank you. I'm honored and I'm so appreciative to be able to be on your show. Yes, I think that my situation, my story, hopefully will give people who are in a similar situation the impetus to move forward in the healthiest manner possible.
Great. I love it. So tell us just a little bit about your background. Like, I know you had your own experience with, I believe it was oxycodone. Tell us what led up to that.
Well, I was right at the height of my surgical practice. So a general rule is when you reach 55, you have most of your financial concerns behind you. That is if you haven't had like multiple marriages or, other financial setbacks. So most surgeons at 55, they're kind of hitting their stride. They've learned the skills that are most efficient, most productive. They start limiting the surgeries to the ones that they have a real good not only understanding but great results. And so it's like you're at a point where everything is optimal. So I had gotten there 55. When I was 58 and a half, I had an accident. I stepped in a hole that shouldn't have been there as I was exiting my vehicle in my driveway. And it was a pretty nasty injury. I sustained a concussion, grade 2 concussion. I shredded some knee ligaments. I strained my back. But the worst injury for me was a hand injury, my dominant right hand. And I tore a couple of tendons in my index finger. But more importantly, the sensory nerve became compromised. So my half of my middle finger, my index finger, and part of my thumb were numb. And it made it very difficult to manipulate instruments. So basically, in the course of 18 months, I ended up having 5 major surgeries and 3 minor surgeries. I underwent a pretty extensive amount of physical therapy, primarily for my hand, but also for my knee and back. And I initially, when I was first injured, I thought, I'll probably be back in action in 3 to 4 months. And then a year and a half later, I'm still compromised. And of course, after the injury and after all of the major surgeries, I needed to be on some type of pain control, pain management. And of course, at that time, we're talking the end of 2011, all the way through the middle of 2013, they were prescribing narcotics pretty readily.
Yep.
And I was no different. Even though I was a physician and a pharmacist, I was the patient at the time.
Right.
And they asked me, what form of narcotic I wanted. I couldn't take Tylenol with codeine because when I had taken it previously, it made me really sick to my stomach. I couldn't take Vicodin, which is hydrocodone and Tylenol, because I had racing hallucinations.
Hello, I'm Joni Siegel, the host of the Addiction Podcast. In 2022, over 100,000 people died from drug and alcohol abuse, and that number is growing daily. Fentanyl poisoning, pot, cocaine, heroin, and even psychedelics and alcohol all contribute to this crisis, while we're bombarded with promotions from thousands of rehabs. Newborns are born addicted, and the majority of homeless people struggle with drug addiction. Drug dealers exploit online resources to sell to teens, and antidepressant use is spiraling out of control. This podcast features brutally honest guest interviews revealing harsh realities and offering hope and solutions through their stories. We don't sugarcoat anything. Guests speak raw and real. More importantly, you'll find inspiration to understand, overcome, and achieve recovery, whether for yourself or to help others, some within your own family, many among your friends or associates. Whether you're seeking help or just a glimmer of hope, our podcast equips you with the latest insights to confront this generational battle. Many listeners tell us they want to join the fight, but do not have the time or money to act, lobby, or just help. If that's you, go to www.patreon.com/theaddictionpodcast and see how you can help.
So, I had, on a previous occasion, I had taken a little bit of oxycodone. It was very smooth. I had no issues with it. So that's the one that I requested and was given. And to make a long story short, I became addicted. I kind of knew when I had become physiologically and psychologically addicted. And I stayed that way for 2.25 years.
Wow. And what I believe that what led you to the business that you're in now and what you're going to talk to us about is kind of how you got off or you weaned yourself off of OxyContin?
Yes. So my wife gave me an ultimatum. She knew I was still taking the Oxycontin, and she thought that I was starting to be a bit irrational. And she did not like the direction my life was going. I've always been a go-getter. I've always been self-motivated. A lot of determination, a lot of perseverance, a lot of movement forward. And she saw me for the better part of that time frame, just kind of hanging out at home and sitting in a love seat we have in our master bedroom and watching way too much television, something I've never done before in my life. And she just felt that my life was headed in a direction that, and she thought that some of my behavior was a little bit irrational also. And I didn't really appreciate that. I wasn't aware of that, but she was very concerned about that. And when she gave me an ultimatum on January 2nd of 2014, she met with me here in the same office I'm in now. And she said, I'm going to leave you because I'm really concerned that you're either going to do something to hurt yourself or you're going to do something to hurt somebody else. And I don't want to see it happen. I don't want to have any part of it. And that was her way of basically telling me, go get some help.
Right.
So within a few hours, I was in a rehab facility.
Okay. Could
I
could you do surgery or were you still not able to do that?
No, because I can do surgery now if I wanted to, but
Okay.
at that time, I was still having a lot of issues with the functionality of my index finger, and I hadn't yet mastered the ability to work around the numbness that was new to me. Your sense of feel is so important during surgery,
Absolutely.
and so no, and that was part of excuse me, that was part of the darkness also.
Yep.
Fact that not only was I addicted to a narcotic and it took me to a very dark place, but the fact that um, I grew up with a lot of issues. I grew up with low self-esteem, low self-confidence, poor self-image, um, all that stuff that comes with PTSD. My
Mhm.
We were poor, but overcoming poverty to me is not a big issue. But we also, my dad was an alcoholic.
You are listening to the Addiction Podcast, Point of No Return. For more information on the podcast or to reach out if you have a story you would like to share with us, go to our Facebook page by the same name, or you can email us at theaddictionpodcast@yahoo.com or go to our website, theaddictionpodcast.com. And please remember to subscribe to our podcast wherever you listen to podcasts and give us a 5-star review. We appreciate you listening to the Addiction Podcast, Point of No Return. We don't do this podcast because we are former addicts. We don't do this podcast because we have loved ones who have suffered from addiction. We do this podcast because we feel that addiction is one of the biggest problems facing the world today, and that no matter who you are, no matter your religion, no matter your income status, no matter your race, no matter anything about you, addiction affects you. Many listeners tell us they want to join the fight, but do not have the time or money to act, lobby, or just help. If that's you, go to www.patreon.com/theaddictionpodcast and see how you can help.
And he was a mean alcoholic when he was drunk, and it caused a lot of fear and anxiety in our household. And so I thought I had overcome all that. I started working up the ladder, getting my doctorate degree in pharmacy, my doctorate degree in medicine, completing a very, very strenuous surgical residency where I became eventually double boarded. And so I thought that all of that was behind me. I thought now I'm a self-made man. I'm confident. My self-esteem was really high.
Yep.
And then when I found myself in this state of darkness and not being in the operating room anymore, not being the guy in control, not being the guy that everybody looked toward to, make it happen, if you will, regardless of the type of surgery that was going on. You're a guy in control. You're the captain of the ship. And not having that situation anymore really kind of brought me back to where I started. All of a sudden, my self-confidence, my self-esteem, how I viewed myself, my self-image, everything just went back to square one, that scared, anxious little boy. And then with the darkness of addiction, I was in a pretty bad place, emotionally, mentally. I was in a pretty bad place.
I can understand that. I can see how that would be because you worked so hard to get to where you were, and then you can't do that anymore. And plus you've got the drugs on top of that. So you went to rehab, and did that fix it for you? Did you revert after that? How did that happen? How did that go?
No, when I left home, I had a full bottle of oxycodone in my closet, in the safe in my closet.
Mm-hmm.
But once I got to rehab, my mindset really changed. So I spent 8 days in rehab, and I don't know if you're familiar with clonidine, but clonidine is something that takes away the symptoms of withdrawal. As a drug for hypertension, it lowers your blood pressure, but it also has a lot of secondary benefits in taking away the flu-like symptoms, the body aches, the nausea. And so I had a bit of an issue that occurred. When I came in, the doctor that evaluated me said, "You're a pretty big guy, so I'm going to put 2 of these patches on you, one in each arm." My blood pressure went down so low that I could barely function for 3 days.
Wow.
They had to wheel me to my meals, and I was literally, the food was, falling out of my mouth whenever I ate or drank. It was horrible. At night, I felt as if I had an elephant on my chest. I could barely breathe. I was telling the nurses, I say, "I think I have a serious problem. Can you please let the doctor know that I'm having a serious issue?" And they were good. They did their best, but they said, "All of our patients go through this."
Mm.
So I said, "I'm not sure about that. I'm really having a hard time." And anyway, thank God, I was admitted on a Monday morning. The patches were placed late Monday morning. By that night, I was really in a bad state. And anyway, make a long story short, he saw me on Thursday, and he could see that, no, the effects were definitely more than he anticipated.
Yep.
So one of the patches off, and that evening I was basically back to normal,
I got
but
it.
still didn't have the symptoms of withdrawal. I said, "This is a piece of cake.
Right.
I think this is going to be pretty easy for me, not as bad as I anticipated." So on the eighth day, uh, my insurance had approved 8 days, and they said we can probably get them to approve more. My wife wanted me to stay in a minimum of 3 to 4 weeks, but I said, "Look, honey, I'm doing great. I feel great. This is behind me. I promise it's gonna be me from this point forward. You know, the Robert Beltran that you've known and loved all these years." Anyway, I was able to coax her. She was hesitant, extremely hesitant. She did not want to take me home, but
Mhm.
uh, she took me home. And when I left, they took the second patch off me. And I did okay the first night, but the next day I started noticing the very severe onset of withdrawal symptoms. A lot of body aches, a lot of nausea, uh, uh, and the worst thing was the anxiety, a
Mm.
tremendous amount of anxiety that didn't allow me to sleep for 3 to 4 days at a time on at least 3 to 4 separate occasions until I finally realized that the physiologic addiction was behind me.
I got it. I got it. So were you taking anything at that point or
Yes, yes,
Oh,
so I was taking Advil. I was
okay.
2 Advil 4 times a day. To help me when the anxiety got really, really bad and I wanted to try to sleep, I smoked some, cannabis,
Oh,
some,
okay.
uh, not the, sativa, the, more relaxing one, indica, the indica strain of cannabis. I talked to a lot of my colleagues and friends, and there was something that a lot of people suggested, so I did that because I didn't wanna take sleeping pills of any kind.
Okay.
I'm anti-pharmaceutical, you will find out as we do this interview.
Okay.
So and then something I've always done that got me through a very strenuous or busy day, whenever I felt up to it, I would do some vigorous exercise.
Okay.
So that helped me quite a bit. But the problem was I wasn't always able to do that because I didn't feel well enough to do it, but when I could, I did. I would take long walks or I would get in my little gym that I have here at home and just work out as hard as I could.
Awesome. Awesome. So how did you then get into more natural treatments for some of these things? I was fascinated by some of the things that you put in the bio about different natural substances to handle what most people think needs a psychiatric drug. How did you get into that?
Well, by the end of, February of 2014, so approximately 8 weeks after this all began, I finally came to the realization that the physiological addiction was behind me. And, as I said before, there was no way I was gonna go back at any point and take more narcotic. I just didn't wanna go backwards. I mean, I proud of myself in that regard that I had that mindset in a very strong and definitive manner. So, of course, all my doctors not only wanted to, but they gave me prescriptions for antidepressants, mood stabilizers, and sedatives to
Okay.
control what they perceive to be depression, to want to get my mood balanced, to try to control my anxiety. But my concern with all those, what I've noticed all these years, not only because of my clinical medicine experience, but my pharmaceutical experience, they all have too many side effects. They cause brain sedation, cognitive impairment, diminished motivation, and they alter or blunt somebody's personality. And not only that, but they all even in and of themselves have the propensity for dependency, addiction, and death. In fact,
Exactly.
categories that I've mentioned, there are 60,000 deaths that occur every year.
Yep.
That's a staggering number when you think about it.
Yep. Yep.
So I would go that route. One of my colleagues who I was staying in contact with was a gentleman of Chinese descent. He had studied a, herbal Chinese medicine at one time, and he thought that they would help me because he knew how anti-pharmaceutical I was.
Yep.
And he recommended a market in Irvine, which has a large Chinese population, a large Asian population. And I went there. I met with this lady who said she had been a pharmacist in China, and she recommended a packet of 5 herbs. And I was extremely hesitant.
Of course you were.
The world of modern medicine, Western medicine,
Yep.
felt like I felt like I was stepping backwards in a very big way. What the effect they were going to have on my body. So I sat with them for about 2 to 3 weeks, and finally, I told my wife, I have nothing to lose. I'm really. Oh, and what led up to that is after I was over the physiological addiction from the narcotic, I had what we now the coin we use is brain fog, but at that
Mm.
time that wasn't a term that was used very often. But I was emotionally, mentally, physically stagnant and lethargic in a way I had never been before in my life. As
Wow.
much as I wanted to move forward and start trying to do things in a normal manner, I could not coordinate the mindset, the decision making to make that happen. I was just too out of it, too fatigued, too
Wow.
whatever term you want to use.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
just
yeah. Brain fog works.
realized it at the time, but my brain neurotransmitters were depleted and they were markedly abnormal in terms of their functionality. So it
Interesting.
was a very strong in and of itself physiological situation. So, like I said, I knew I had nothing to lose. This doctor I had a lot of respect and admiration and appreciation for. I didn't think he was going to steer me down a dark alley or in the wrong direction in any manner. So I said, you know what, I'm going to give this a go. And I started taking these. They came in a capsule. I
Mhm.
started them, and 3 weeks later, I was back to what I was and then some. All my
Wow.
physical energy, all my mental clarity and focus, my cognition, everything was back and firing on all cylinders. I just had all my motivation back, all my determination. I was ready to go.
Wow.
And then, um, 3 to 4 weeks later, I started to notice some amazing benefits in, the fulfillment and pleasures of intimacy, and I knew I was onto something very special. And for whatever
Yeah.
reason, a light switch went on. This became my passion to study, research, start trying to find out where I could obtain various herbs and being able to purchase them, and I started utilizing and modifying different ingredient combinations, different dosages, and all while reading up and researching what the benefits had been documented, not only documented in before modern times. There was a lot of documentation. I'm trying to think of the term where the people wrote down the benefits they experienced from taking a certain herbal ingredient,
Yep.
and I I I was just I was just in a state of passion. I said, I can't learn enough about these things.
Yep.
So it's kind of what led into where I'm at now, if you will.
I think that's awesome. So, did you where do you learn about this? Did you like nutrition school? Did you learn from Chinese doctors? How did you learn about it?
No, we had learned a little bit when I was in pharmacy school. My first and second year, there was a little bit of teaching that had to do with herbal medications. And I remember one of the quarters in my second year in lab in pharmacy school, we did some work with some herbal ingredients. But I put that we're talking 1973, 1974.
Right.
Should have
Right.
all been me. I just moved on and didn't really think about it
Yep.
again.
Yep.
And and after I obtained that packet and saw all the benefits that I had achieved, I remembered, hey, I'm not new to this. I actually got introduced to this some years ago. But anyway, I started researching as much as possible online and finding out as much as I could about the individual ingredients that I was interested in.
Okay. And then you formulated your own products, is that correct?
Yeah, by 2019, I had a formulation that I was just amazed with, but it was 20 almost 30 ingredients. and I had to take 8 capsules a day to get the benefit that I was, that I thought was optimal for me.
Yeah.
And the benefits that I was noticing were an unbelievable amount of mental and physical energy that carried me through the day in a very amazing and powerful way. And there were ingredients in there that also sort of calmed any anxiety, any irritability, any nervousness, jitters that comes, for example, with coffee, with energy drinks, Adderall, and things of that sort. And then, of course, it was doing amazing things for me in terms of my intimate life. So I still didn't think so. I had one shoe fits all, if you will, one product, and I was thinking of potentially taking it to market. But there were a couple obstacles. My CFO, a little bit later, said, I don't think this is going to work because people are going to be confused as to what the actual benefits and how they can utilize it in the most effective and efficient manner. And he was right about that. And number two, I didn't think my wife would appreciate me moving forward with a lot of the storytelling that was behind how we got to where we were with these products. She's a very private person. She has a lot of dignity, and I just didn't think she was going to want me to go public with any of this. Well, in 2020, we went to we belong to Saddleback Church. I don't know if you've ever heard of Pastor Rick Warren. He has a very big national, actually worldwide platform, very prominent pastor. And his whole Easter service sermon was on responsibility. And
Ah.
halfway through, he starts talking about doctors, the responsibility they have. And he said, if a doctor discovers, is aware, or creates any kind of medication or device that can help people survive through life, can help people revive their lives, can help people thrive in their lives, they have a responsibility as per their Hippocratic oath to share that with the public.
I
So my
think he
wife
has a good point,
a little nudge during that part of the service.
Yep.
And I drive home, she said, I know you've been working with these herbs, and some amazing things are happening for you. I think you ought to seriously consider, sharing it with the public.
I like that. So you formed a company. Say the name of your company because I read it and I wasn't exactly sure how you say it.
Well, before we formed the company, I want to share a couple of things with you. We
Sure.
did. By that time, I had put a team together, and that's when my son, who's our CFO, he said, "Dad, I don't think this is going to fly. This one shoe fits all." He said, "If you can find a way to isolate the ones that are more specific for brain power and brain health, those that are more specific for men's sexual wellness, and those that are more specific for women's sexual wellness, then I think you can have a business moving forward." And so I went back to the drawing board, and at that point, it wasn't that difficult. I felt like I had the knowledge, the understanding, and this vision that almost created a matrix in front of me of which ingredients did what and how I could combine them to optimize the brain power and brain health component, optimize the men's sexual wellness, and optimize a product for women. And by that time, we had done a lot of research, and I came to the realization that for women to really enjoy intimacy in a manner that it was meant to be enjoyed, they have two things have to occur. They have to feel good health wise, and they have to be in the mood. So we created a pretty amazing product that has a vast array of benefits for women's health. That's called Lady Plus. The men's product is called Man Plus, and it is a pretty amazing product in terms of how profound the benefits have been for men. And you have to understand that these products were not just created for intimacy. They were created also to improve general health. All of our three products increase the microcirculation throughout the body. They promote neurogenesis, which is the restoration of damaged neural and brain tissue. And they also replenish and optimize the functionality of brain neurotransmitters. They all have adaptogens, so they help people alleviate or moderate their response to stress. And they all have probiotics and prebiotics, which optimize gut health and thus optimize the gut brain axis. So we feel like we covered a lot of bases to not only be target specific in terms of the benefits we wanted people to achieve, but more importantly, to achieve ongoing uh, improvement in their general health and longevity.
Understood. Let me ask you a question. So, other than yourself, who experienced these benefits largely because you were coming off of narcotics, obviously, this podcast is about people in recovery or people who need to get into recovery. Um, have you experienced, how can I put this? Have other people experienced the same thing you did who are in recovery? Have you seen it work with people like that?
Yes, yes. I've had a number of people who were in addiction of one type or another, and it's a holistic approach. It has to be a holistic approach. Anything short of that, you're really not giving a person an optimal opportunity to heal themselves, if you will, on their own. One, we told them that exercise on a daily basis of one type or another was very, very important.
Yep.
And if you exercise vigorously, at least 2 to 3, 4 times a week, please try to do it. Number two, meditate daily for 15 minutes to 45 minutes. What are the benefits of exercise and meditation? Well, exercise also increases the microcirculation throughout the body, which is so important and vital when we're talking about any type of healing. Number two, both meditation and exercise flood the body with endorphins, the
Right.
body's natural opioids, and they also stimulate the release of so-called feel-good neurotransmitters, dopamine, serotonin, and GABA, which is gamma aminobutyric acid. And then, of course, we want people to do their best to eat a healthy diet, take a product like the one that we formulated to stimulate mental and physical energy, improve their mental clarity, focus, and cognition. And this has allowed a number of people that I'm familiar with and made this recommendation to move forward through their addiction.
And, I think that that's huge because I know, from people that I have personally known that when you have had any form of alcohol or drug addiction, it really, um, it it destroys the health and well-being of the body. And while, you come off the drugs and that's great, you then have to put all the good stuff back so that you can function. So, what's the name of the product and how do people get it?
Well, the product that's for, and I'm sure this is the one you're referencing, for increased mental and physical energy, enhanced mental clarity, focus, and cognition, and simultaneously providing a sense of calm and mood balance. And the reason that occurs is because of the ashwagandha and the L-theanine that are in the product.
Okay.
But it's clear focus, and it's made by Recommend Nutrition. And we spell recommend. It's a play on the word that physicians use probably 30 times per day, recommendation, but we
Hmm.
spell it RECOMND. RECOMND.
Okay, so we just say recommend. That works for me. I wasn't sure how to say it. I wasn't sure if it was Recom ND or recommend. Okay, good. So I got it. And that product is Focus because that's the one that I think would resonate with some of the people listening because I think we have a lot of people listening who are in recovery. And, recovery can be difficult for a lot of people. And I think that anything like this that can help them, physically and mentally and spiritually through their recovery, I think is a big deal.
Yeah, there's no doubt that the product that we created can help you power through the day in a very meaningful and efficient manner. If I had to say one thing that I learned from my addiction is that I had no idea that the post-addiction process was going to create so much mental and physical stagnation and lethargy.
Yeah.
And I think that's the one thing, if people can get through that, and I know our product can help them, they're on their way to recovery in a very definitive manner.
I think that's awesome. Can they only get it from your website, or are there other places they can purchase it?
Website, it's available through Amazon.
Okay, and it's Focus. That's easy. That's the name of the product. By
Clear Focus.
Recommend, RECOMND.
Yeah, it's Clear Focus.
Clear Focus. Sorry, I missed that word. I think I was talking when you said it. Okay, perfect. Clear Focus from Recommend, RECOMND. Dr. Beltran, thank you for talking to us today. I think that what you're doing is awesome. We have had a pharmacist on our podcast a couple different times, and she uses herbs and vitamins to help people step down off of things like benzodiazepines. And anyway, you are of like minds.
Yes, yes, and we've only mentioned the herbs, but all of our products, and I think the one that's most important for the audience that we're talking to now, we also have an array of multiple vitamins, minerals, and amino acids, and all of these are so important to helping people improve their health and power through in a very definitive and positive manner especially when they're overcoming any kind of health issue, whether it be mental or physical.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, and tell your wife that we are grateful that she bugged you about this, and that you're doing it, because I think it's valuable, and I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you for listening. I'm going to mention the product again that Dr. Beltran's company sells. It's called Clear Focus, and the website or the company is RECOMND, Recommend. But you can get the products on Amazon. They also sell vitamins and minerals, but this Clear Focused herbal remedy sounds like it might be good. I mean, I'm not in recovery, but I might try it as well. Have a good day, and we'll be back again next week.
You have been listening to the Addiction Podcast, Point of No Return. For more information, reach out to us on Facebook or go to www.theaddictionpodcast.com. Our email is theaddictionpodcast@yahoo.com.